This podcast of the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs is sponsored by AAA Heating and Air.
The premier HVAC company in the Midlands is growing. Are you a top HVAC technician?
AAA Heating and Air is looking for dedicated applicants to fill their fast-growing service department with top-notch HVAC technicians.
If you're the best, then they want you. If you're ready to stop working and start a career, you can earn up to $100,000 plus a year at AAA Heating and Air.
Quality candidates will have at least 2 years experience and a good driving record. Benefits include top industry salaries, commission on service and unit sales, set call limits, company-provided take-home vehicle and gas card, company-provided cell phone and tablet, health, dental, and vision benefits, 401k retirement plan with company match, and scaled PTO based on length of service.
Contact Roy and Dana Finley at 803-677-1500 or check out their job postings on Facebook or ZipRecruiter.
AAA Air when you need us. AAA Heating and Air.
The Game. Also heard on 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach and 100.5 The Game in Florence.
Yeah.
Well, welcome into the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs here on a Football Friday. Tyler West and Chris along with you, getting you set for the Battle of the Gamecocks coming up tomorrow at high noon at Williams-Brice Stadium, South Carolina and Jacksonville State. First ever time two teams with the mascot Gamecocks squaring off, which that's pretty cool. Obviously, a lot to break down this matchup, which we will over the course of the next hour. Get into buy or sell here in a little bit, and, of course, give our score predictions as we always do. But as the story of this season has unfolded, mainly revolving around injuries, we got to start with the latest injury report from Coach Beamer on Carolina Calls last night.
We're 9 for 9 on offensive line combinations, and this will be no different. Trey Jones won't play this week, so he'll be out. It's kind of like we told the team, find negatives and turn them into positives. So we've had so many injuries. We've got a lot of guys on the offensive line that have now played multiple positions. But Trey Jones is not going to play. But the good news is Casey Henry and Vershawn Lee will.
Oh, excellent.
So you get two offensive linemen back. So it's kind of like a 2-for-1 trade. Yes, we can clap for that after this point. So, Vershawn will be back. Casey will be back. Tree and Tro are good. Amarian Brown is back. He will play. We're not quite ready to say that Trey Knox is out. I'd say he's questionable right now. So still a chance of Trey playing, but certainly getting guys back and getting healthier than we've been, knock on wood, at any point this season.
I think it's fitting that they gave a round of applause because that's maybe one of the best injury reports we've gotten in quite a while, as more positives than negatives, it sounded like.
Yeah, that was different, I guess. I mean, it would be great if we didn't have to start a show with an injury report involving the offensive line, but this is where we are. And, I think for South Carolina, getting those two guys back, it actually gives you, obviously, two guys you were counting on to start the year. That's two literal game one starters. And, Beamer said they will play, which actually is even a different sentence than they're available. He said they will play. So we'll see if they start or not. Do you ease them back in, or is it, hey, here we go, you're in the game? I think particularly with Casey Henry. Mm-hmm. This is something we've talked about. Yes, he was a starter, but he's not an experienced guy who's just played a ton of ball before. Vershawn Lee has obviously played a ton of ball in his time at South Carolina. So I think if you really want to kind of dive into this thing, it just gives you a little bit more, for the first time in a while, flexibility on the offensive line. There are some different combinations you could work with. You've got some options. If somebody, I'm not even going to speak it into existence, but if you need another player to step in, you actually have a few extra guys to work with now, as opposed to going into a game saying, man, what are we going to do if somebody else has to go out? Yeah, I'm just going to read Chris's lips over here, and he's saying that...
I think he had the wrong microphone on. Let's try that. No. Now he's grabbing the wrong microphone.
No, this is not a Chris issue, I don't think.
Okay.
Chris has like 4 mics, and none of them are working. So, hello? Nope.
No. Y'all just go.
Yeah, we're
Ed says he can hear Chris, so that's what matters. So roll with that one, Chris.
Okay, I'll speak. I can't hear myself.
I'll take one of
sure
one of my earphones off so I can hear you.
There you go.
You know,
But my question is, so what are the combinations on the offensive line?
so that was my question because, like Beamer said, we're going to have the 9th different starting combination regardless. And if Case and Henry is starting, assuming you'd put him at right tackle, would you go Tree, Nick moving back to right guard,
Left guard.
left guard, excuse me, Lee at center, Tro at right guard, and then Henry at right tackle? Would that likely be your starting 5?
if again, I'll be clear. This is not from info. This is just from what I've seen this year, basically, and what I know about who plays where. That would be. I think. So I think these are the two things. These are the two combinations you may see. It would be that one that you're talking about, or it would be Lee slides right back in at right tackle. Case and Henry, you get him into the game at some point there, and Ja'Kai Moore plays left guard again, potentially.
Right.
But I do think, I don't know, Lee really solidified that center spot for you. And yes, when he moved to right tackle, he solidified that for you.
Sure.
But originally your plan and hope was that Case and Henry was going to be that guy. So I think it gives you, if Case and Henry is like 100%, like he's back, he's himself, then no disrespect to Jacksonville State, but it would be very, very ideal for Henry to go play 70 snaps and just play and get that out of the way. This is a chance for him to actually get some experience going into then, those final 3 games, because played in a couple of games as a reserve last year, played literally 4 snaps in the opener. So I think ideally you're not wanting to hold him and say, hey, go play some SEC teams in Clemson. You're wanting to get him out there, let him make a mistake or two, and start learning from him.
Your situation on the O-line means that anytime we talk about one of these moves, like hypothetically, or if it's actually made, you're kind of always doing the rob Peter to pay Paul thing, right? Because when you move Vershawn to right tackle for the Florida game, what were the corresponding moves? Nick G to center, and then Trey Jones to left guard. And that all looked good, right? But there's always sort of a question. Like, there was a reason that you had Nick G as your starter at guard as opposed to center. And he's played center for years.
Yep.
And he's a good center. A couple snap issues. Yes, there have been a couple. But you always got a little drop-off in some particular area. And that's even more the case now that Trey Jones is not available, because you felt like those positions were pretty stable when you were able to insert Trey Jones, but now you can't do that. Did y'all also catch, guys, and y'all might have said this in the midst of the mic issues, Case and Henry, Beamer said, was going to compete at the left tackle spot also. He mentioned that right at the beginning of his injury report, talking about him competing with Tree at the left tackle spot, which was interesting to me.
Right.
Because, I mean, we knew he repped there in preseason when he came back, and he had a chance with that job, but they ended up slotting him at right tackle.
And you guys kind of remind everyone, and I enjoyed poking fun at Colin in the preseason because he kept talking about Case and Henry, how excited he was for him to get to play, only to be lost 4 snaps and get into the North Carolina game. Again, he played in some reserve roles last year against like South Carolina State and I think Georgia State as well. But why is Case and Henry thought to be such a good offensive lineman?
Well, I think for one, he's just a big, sturdy kid. Like he can hold the point of attack. From what we're told, like I think it's one of those things where, let me say it like this: I don't even necessarily think a healthy Case and Henry was going to step in and just. It would have been unfair to expect him to just lock down right tackle and be this guy that. Was just an all-SEC performer right off the bat. Now, the fact that he came in really missed the spring, missed the beginning of preseason camp, and then quickly ascended the depth chart. That spoke to two sides of this. One, he might have just been the most naturally talented right tackle among that group. But two, let's be honest, that was a position that was in flux, that was unsettled. And then, frankly, North Carolina game, we saw why. We saw why that was after he came out. So, if you're going to be fair there, I don't think we need to put these crazy expectations on him. But of that group, of that trio that is in his class on the offensive line, I think he was the one that most quickly we started hearing some buzz about, like, hey, this guy's got a chance to be a future starter. You would have liked to actually just let him go start that process and go play some reps, and let's find out how good he is when he matches up with some other teams. But, he also plays with a mean streak, if you're kind of wanting to know what his skill set is or what type of player he is. Plays with a mean streak. I would imagine is a guy that maybe he's a little bit further along as a run blocker, but I don't know that for a fact. And so I do think that's very intriguing. I did not catch that, Chris, about him competing at left tackle. For one, it eases a little bit of the pressure at that position where it's just been like, hey, freshman Tree, good luck, man. Go play. And it actually, let's play this thing out in real time. If he's the left tackle, we'll fill out the Legos here to build an O-line. If he's at left tackle, then you're probably going to insert Vershawn back out there at right tackle. And then you're going to play Ja'Kai Moore at left guard. You're going to play Nick G at center and Tro Ball at right guard. So that's another – we've already designed 3 potential combinations here just on the fly on what you could do. But, hey, that's a lot better situation than what it was even last week when you had literally a freshman as your emergency left tackle because he didn't really get to practice last week.
A hurt freshman.
And then he had to go play.
And to go back to Casey Henry, like, this is a guy that won the job at right tackle for a few reasons, and it was part, like, give him credit for that, especially doing it on a short clock with all the time he missed, but it also spoke to South Carolina's need there. It's kind of like the need against A&M of you're down so many guys, who's your next left tackle? Well, it's a banged-up true freshman. But Henry's got, I've said this before, you go back to his Gamecocks Online bio, you don't see this a lot, like, blah, 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 like true freshman offensive lineman or freshman offensive lineman has a massive upside or has a huge upside. Like, it's literally on his bio. This guy has played 37 snaps in his career. He played 4 against UNC before he got rolled up on and hurt, and he played in 2 games last year and played something like, 11 snaps one game, 20-something in the other one. So he hasn't even played the equivalent. He's played the equivalent of a half of college football in his career. So we'll have to temper things, but point is they are better from a health standpoint, and it's conceivable that by the end of the year, maybe they're not fully healthy, but they might have closer to a full room, which I don't think we can discount in terms of the potential impact.
Absolutely. Well, good to finally have somewhat of a positive injury report, and some good reports there for the receivers as well. Trey Knox still a little bit questionable from that hamstring injury this past weekend against A&M, so he may be out for tomorrow's game. Coming up, it's our favorite segment of the week. It's time for Buy or Sell ahead of the Battle of the Gamecocks, as today's edition of the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs rolls on Football Friday here on the game. Welcome back in. Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler, Wes, and Chris along with you on this Football Friday. Don't forget, have another pair of football tickets to give away. Not yet. Don't call right now. In a few moments, maybe the next segment, we'll give those tickets away as well as some more basketball tickets too, as we're just in a really giving mood here as of late. So keep it locked right here on the game for your chance to win some tickets here as Football Friday rolls along. But now it is time for our favorite segment of the week. It's time to buy or sell. Ed, hit the music. There we go.
Ed was ready. You didn't even have to.
Ed was ready.
You didn't even have to tell him. All right, welcome to Buy or Sell, brought to you by my friend Kendall Walsh. We'll tell you a little bit more about Kendall and the Dwell team here in a second. Guys, I can see the smiles on your faces. I know you're ready for this. My
Always.
favorite segment of the entire week, every single week of the year, buy or sell. We're starting off with turnovers.
Ooh.
We've talked about turnovers and particularly forced turnovers from South Carolina's defense, the lack of those. They went through October. It was 3 games, and we didn't see many nor actually any of those from South Carolina's defense. So, all right, guys, I'm going with a high number here because I don't want you all just to buy on this. So, not 1 forced turnover, not 2. Buy or sell 3 forced turnovers from the South Carolina defense Saturday, high noon, as Tyler said. A nooner for the Gamecocks versus the Gamecocks.
Chris,
Who wants to go first?
I'll let you take this one, Chris.
You punted. You passed it
Well,
off.
I wanted to look up something really quick.
Okay.
Are you
All
going
right.
to share
Tyler,
with us?
Tyler uses statistical analysis in his buy or sell answers. Oh, man. All right, here's a question. I need some ground rules on buy or sell. Can you do a push? Is this possible?
I don't see why not.
Well,
so
no,
you want to
there-
be
there's-
Did you say 3 or more?
Well, yeah, 3. That's implied. Yeah.
so
3,
you want to
think
get
it's gonna be
right on the
4?
number?
Well, I was saying,
No.
so if it's 3, you buy. I didn't know if you went over 3.
Yeah, no.
3 or more.
3 forced turnovers.
I will buy and
or
I'll,
more.
I'll show my work by saying 3. That's why I was saying, push.
And this is only South Carolina forcing these turnovers, not combined for the whole game, right?
Correct. Game.
Okay.
So basically, Jacksonville State commits 3
Commits 3
turnovers or more. So if they drop the football and South
Yeah.
Carolina picks it up, it still counts as a forced turnover.
So I'm going to sell. Jacksonville State does not throw the ball a lot. They're a run-heavy team.
Mhm.
On the season, they've only lost 4 fumbles. So
Nice stat.
I mean, could South Carolina maybe force 1? Sure. 3, I think that's a tough ask.
Okay. All right. Very well reasoned. I mean, I'm buying it just because, spoiler alert, that's my in-game prediction on Gamecock Central for later on. Check out that article as well. But so I just think that these things come in bunches. I think at home.
Like they're going to make up for the month of October in one game.
Yeah, that's usually how it works. Like you go through a stretch, they can't turn anybody over. And then, boom, all of a sudden they're turning people over left and right for a couple of games. So I think Jacksonville State will be in a position to have to throw the ball at times, both by complementary offense from South Carolina, by them scoring, and then I think there'll be enough negative plays up front from South Carolina's defense to force them to throw, and that's when you get hit quarterbacks. They've got a 50% completion rate at quarterback with their starter. I think this sets up well for them to possibly finally get the ball off some people. So, all right, next one. This one is submitted by co-host Chris Clark.
I know that guy.
Yeah, more rushing yards. Mario Anderson for South Carolina or Zion Webb for Jacksonville State. That is their quarterback. He has, let's see, I just saw it. He has 460 yards rushing on the season, 4 touchdowns. So buy or sell, Mario Anderson will outrush Zion Webb. This is a quick buy for me. I think that this is a Jacksonville State defense that's pretty athletic, but maybe not the biggest. I expect South Carolina to try and push them around to run the football. You got a tough-nosed guy in Mario Anderson. I expect this will be his second 100-yard day, I think. He had a 100-yard day against Tennessee. So second career 100-yard day at this level for Mario Anderson. I'm buying.
The reason that I had this as a question is because 3 times this season, remember Zion Webb's missed some time. He's gone over 100-yard 3 times this year.
Wow.
Middle Tennessee, as high as 146. Carried the ball 28 times in a 3-point win over Western Kentucky.
So they straight up run this dude. Like they aren't one of these teams that's like, we're going to run him in spurts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in 2 games, I mean, one of his 100-yard games, he carried the ball just 10 times. It was largely on the strength of a 61-yard touchdown run. But the first 2 games, or actually the most recent 2 games, they started running him more. 28 times against Western Kentucky, 20 against FIU. I'm with you, Wes. I don't think he'll have as much success against an SEC team. I do think he'll get some yards. I'm going to go with Mario, but it does give me pause, and that's why I put the question out there.
I'll buy as well. Mario's kind of come into his own over the course of this last month. Unfortunately, the Gamecocks not winning those games, but we talk about him going into the Tennessee game, going against A&M last week. Very good defenses against the run. He's still been able to have a pretty solid output, and this is a good Jacksonville State defense based on the numbers, but I think Mario Anderson can win that running battle.
All right. We don't have to give away our final score yet in this segment, but I think we all probably have South Carolina winning the game. Everybody nod. Yep. All right. Gamecocks currently, according to Vegas Insider, 15.5-point favorites in this game, and that number has risen a little bit depending on kind of where you looked right off when it first opened. Vegas Insider says it opened at 14.5. I saw it as low as 13.5, I think, maybe even 13 somewhere, but 15.5 points, over under currently 54.5. Buy or sell, South Carolina covers the 15.5.
I am buying.
Why?
Because I have them winning by slightly more than that. I think I think the offense a little bit healthier. Still going to have some guys out, of course, and Trey Knox is questionable. But I do think this offense can stay ahead of schedule enough, make some explosive plays, and be able to outscore Jacksonville State. There's going to be some groan-worthy moments, I think, in the stadium tomorrow. I do think Jacksonville State's going to move the football. I think they're going to score some points. But I go back to the turnovers, right? I think Jacksonville State will have a few, they'll turn the ball over a few times. Gamecocks will get a couple of key stops and be able to do enough to win this. And I think for the offense, they'll be able to have a nice day.
I'll buy as well. I have them just over that in my score prediction, which we'll get to at the end of the show. As good as Jacksonville State is up front on the defensive line and with tackles for losses, the back end of their defense, not as great. They've given up a fair amount of yards through the air this season. I think Spencer Rattler should be in for a very good day tomorrow with a relatively healthy receiving core.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm buying, and I think you look at this Jacksonville State, for what they are a very good football team, man. But when you look at when they have faced the better teams on their schedule, even within their conference, they've given up points. So they have a really good defense statistically. And, when they face a team that maybe is of equal talent, they play very good, sound defense, and they make things happen, and they get those tackles for loss. I think this is a game. We've seen what South Carolina can do at home on offense against opponents that they are kind of just better than, and against a Florida defense that we thought was at least okay for SEC standards coming in. So I do think a big day for South Carolina's offense, which I think will probably set the tone for everything else and being kind of that complementary aspect to South Carolina's defense. So I think a relatively easy, not easy, they have to play well, but y'all know what I'm saying. I think a relatively comfortable win for South Carolina as it progresses.
I feel like this could be a game that's maybe 10-ish points at the start of the fourth quarter. South Carolina gets a final touchdown to eventually cover that spread, but I don't think they're going to run away with this, 56-3 or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I would be shocked by that. I have them scoring 40 points. So
okay.
I think depending on how this thing starts, Rattler's been so good at home, y'all. And it's a lot has been because he's had time, and there's been just a lot more running room at home based on those matchups. So I think could be a good day for South Carolina. All right, final one.
Yep.
Call your shot. Buy or sell. South Carolina will go 4 for 4 down the stretch of this college football season.
Oh, man.
Y'all can answer that on the other side if we need to.
Yeah. How about we think about that?
Think that one over.
Yeah, we'll do that as the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs rolls along here on Football Friday. That was buy or sell. Welcome back in. It is the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler West and Chris along with you on this Football Friday, getting you set for Jacksonville State and South Carolina. Coming up tomorrow at noon, pregame coverage starting right here on the game with myself and Terry Ford on a cold morning out at Sound and Images for Gamecocks game day. And again, kickoff at noon, which you can listen to right here on the game. We'll continue buy and sell in just a moment, but time to give away some tickets. Ed, hit that sounder. 803-404-6100. What number caller are we taking this time, guys? I did 5 earlier, did 3 earlier. Which one? Give me a number.
Number 9. Call
Number
now.
9. All right, number 9 at 803-404-6100. Win yourself a pair of tickets to tomorrow's game between South Carolina and Jacksonville State.
Who wears number 9, guys?
For South Carolina, Luke
yeah.
Doty.
And?
Strawn? No, Strawn's 7.
7.
Where's 9 on the defense?
Number 9.
Welcome to Talkville.
The Ultimate Smallville Rewatch Podcast. I always drove the cars, the Porsche, Ferrari, Lamborghinis. They were always a little skeptical, but sometimes they go, all right, Rosie, just go up where the stop sign is and turn the car around, and we'll give you your cue on the walkie. And I go, great. And they're like, Rosie? I'm like, yeah, dude. Oh, yeah, this stop sign? They're like, yes, there's only that stop. Oh, okay.
Jump in now or catch up on any of the past seasons of Talkville on YouTube or wherever you listen.
Do you know this answer, Wes?
I think so.
I think so.
Imazula.
Oh, that's
God.
right.
I was sitting here thinking of DBs, and then
Yeah.
Not
for some
anymore,
reason-
guys. The
Yeah.
lower number
That's right.
defensive line
Popularized.
craze has taken
Yeah.
over.
I'm ashamed I didn't know that.
Hey, I love a defensive lineman
That's
that
your
wears
guy,
like
too.
I know, man.
1 because it just looks so tiny.
I don't like the 0.
You like the 0?
On a DL.
I'm down.
Just looks funky.
Now there is, there are numbers that you can't do at certain positions because they seem bad. I think. So I think if you're like an offensive lineman, you got to be 70 in the 70 range or in the 50s. I think all the 60 numbers, I don't like them.
Okay. So you got a problem with Gargiulo being 69?
Nice.
The only position I'm particular about numbers is quarterback. I don't like quarterback numbers that go past 19. I can't get behind you if you're like quarterback number 23 or something like that. Like I
Does
get
anybody do that anymore?
The Brown, Kevin Brown, is that his name? Up at Michigan, not Michigan, Ohio State, where it's 33 at quarterback. Shea Patterson, when he was at Ole Miss, was 20. I know Devin Gardner wore 98 at Michigan, but that was like a throwback to what's Mark Harmon's dad's name? The Michigan legend.
I couldn't tell.
I can't remember. But anyway, like some of them do it, but I don't know. For me, you either got to be 1 to 19 if you're a quarterback. That's just me personally.
What number was Zeb when he first showed up? They had Zeb in a 20-something number at practice.
He was in a 20-something.
Speaking of which, Zeb Nolan's dad coached Max Johnson in high school at Oconee County.
he did.
He did, yep.
Coach Travis.
You can still buy a Zeb Noland Iowa State jersey online too, if anybody's interested.
I don't know how many people are going to do that.
I'm sorry, I got us totally off track talking about offensive line numbers.
Hey,
but
look, I could talk about numbers all day.
Okay.
I'm cool with that. But let's finish up buy or sell.
Let's talk about this number. 4 for 4 for South Carolina. Who's willing to buy this thing? Let me show my work before I give my answer. I think South Carolina has a great shot to beat Clemson. Like I really do, based on what we've seen out of them. FPI does not yet agree, but I honestly think it's a little bit behind right now. And so there's not very many advantages to being 2-6. But if there is one silver lining for South Carolina being 2-6, you're not looking past anybody.
No.
So there is no, show up a little bit half-hearted against Jacksonville State. There is no looking past Vanderbilt next week. So the key to this thing, take care of business, avoid more injuries the next 2 weeks, and then you start to feel a little bit of momentum. Now, everybody outside of your house is going to say, oh, they beat Jacksonville State and Vanderbilt, big deal.
Mm-hmm.
But positive momentum is a real thing within the confines of a program, of a team.
Absolutely. I don't care who they're playing tomorrow. Win's a win, whether it's by covering the spread of 15.5 points or they win by 1 point at the last second. Like winning, just to get back in the win column, is going to be very beneficial.
And so I think Kentucky is the swing game right now between getting to 6 and not.
And Kentucky, and this happens every single year with them, they always look so much stronger at the beginning of the season, start to fall off in the midpoint. I think you're going to catch them at a good time where they're not playing as well as they were at the beginning of the season. Now, I give credit to Devin Leary, had one of his best games, his best game of the year, in fact, last weekend against Tennessee. So, that does concern you that maybe he's finally clicking a little bit. But obviously the MO is going to be slowing down Ray Davis. And again, that's games 2 weeks from now. We shouldn't focus too much on that. But I think South Carolina has a good shot at that one. And you wonder how motivated Clemson's going to be with whatever their record's going to be at the end of the season, because we talk about could be 2 5-6 teams playing for bowls at that point.
Yeah, for sure. And I think my big question now is there any way South Carolina can get another home or another night game for the Kentucky game? Because I feel like that the place is just different at night. And
you don't want Darude playing at 11 a.m.
See, exactly. Yep. Like you need, and now I say that fully knowing South Carolina lost a home night game to Kentucky 2 years ago. I remember a night game home against Kentucky where South Carolina scores right off the bat and the place is going insane. That was actually kind of low-key one of the better atmospheres I can remember at a South Carolina game
at first,
in a while. And then, gets beat there. So I fully understand the data maybe doesn't back me up right now on that against Kentucky. But I just feel like it's a noon kickoff for that game. We'll see. But I feel like South Carolina coming off 2 wins, night game, has a good shot to beat Kentucky.
I have a good feeling about that being a night game because for a lot of the SEC, that's Cupcake Saturday. Mm-hmm. So you have a lot of teams taking on Group of 5 opponents, which that's perfect for noon on the SEC Network, noon on ESPNU. I think the fact that Carolina and Kentucky are one of the few conference games, you got a good shot at a late afternoon tonight game.
And like you said, man, I don't know if anybody cares that Darude's going to be there as far as the people making the game times,
sure.
But you got to call in a favor, maybe.
Well, for our friend Adam Vance over at Sound and Images that's doing his light setup, you want to have lights at night. Like strobe lights don't hit differently during the day. Don't hit the same during the daytime.
Yes, true. All right, so I'm going full homer mode. I'm buying the 4 for 4.
It's a tough call to make early. I think I would.
That's why it's a discussion.
That's right. I think I would have to sell it right now, but after 2 weeks. Let's say South Carolina holds serve, wins the next 2 games. We'll see what Kentucky and Clemson do over the next couple weeks. And in 2 weeks, I can see myself changing my mind and say, yeah, I'm picking both those games, right? I do agree that Clemson seems like the more winnable of those two right now, but I don't have it in the, I'm picking a win category right now.
Sure.
If we were sitting here talking about the Clemson game today, I would be very conflicted. I'd probably pick South Carolina at home, but I would still have to think about it pretty hard.
And Clemson has a tough slate these next couple weeks. Notre Dame, North Carolina, a very surprising Georgia Tech team. They could be limping in to Willie B at the end of the year. So it kind of
beat up now too. They've actually got some injuries.
Yeah, you do wonder what kind of state they're going to be in. Again, that's a couple weeks away, so we'll certainly get into that more as the game gets closer. But like me in the Wendy's drive-thru, I'm buying the 4 for 4 as well.
Wow,
it's like what I did there. I don't think they even sell that anymore, actually.
They don't?
At inflation, man. Pretty sure they don't.
4 for
yeah.
Got to buy the $5 bag or something now.
That makes me sad.
It does, unfortunately. That got me through college.
Yep. All right, back to Jacksonville State.
Anyways.
For decades, Rolling Stone has set the bar for entertainment publications. Today, Rolling Stone Music Now takes over in podcast form.
We have Michael Azerrad, who was Nirvana's very first biographer. I'm not sure how many people realize how many of the best songs on In Utero were written way beforehand.
To be fair to Kurt, he was also a new father. There was a lot of stuff distracting him. It wasn't just drugs, although that was certainly a major factor.
Rolling Stone Music Now, wherever you listen.
We'll make our final score predictions and see how tomorrow's game is going to go as we wrap up today's edition of the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs on a Football Friday here on the Game. Welcome back in, Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler West, Chris along with you, wrapping up today's edition on this Football Friday. Of course, right at about 24 hours away from South Carolina and Jacksonville State kicking things off at Williams-Brice Stadium tomorrow at noon. Before we get into our score predictions, gave away a couple pair of football tickets. Time to give away another pair of men's basketball tickets for the season opener against USC Upstate coming up on Tuesday. So what are we doing this time?
I would come up with a really high number. 4.
4? All right. Caller number 4 right now, 803-404-6100. Win a pair of tickets to the men's basketball season opener against USC Upstate coming up on Tuesday night. All right, guys, we've gotten to the final segment of the show. I think we all agree that South Carolina was going to be able to cover the spread of, last 15.5? Is that the last one we're going off of? What are those final scores going to look like?
Chris, you go first.
I have the South Carolina Gamecocks, 37, and the Jacksonville Gamecocks, 20. Like I said, feel like Jacksonville State's going to move the football. I feel like there's going to be some touchdown drives. There's going to be some groan-worthy moments inside Williams-Brice Stadium. But again, to go back to Wes's buy or sell question, few turnovers, I think, for Jacksonville State, and ultimately enough stops to be able to get it done. And then offensively, 37 points obviously would be a really nice day. Spencer Rattler, as Wes said earlier, he's been really good at home. This offense has generally performed quite well at home, too. I've got a nice, efficient performance for them moving the football and scoring into the higher 30s.
You're going to have the offense scoring 37 points in 3 straight home games?
Maybe that's why I picked it, because
Maybe
it
so.
seems like a good number to go with.
I didn't even think about that.
Yep.
I got South Carolina 40, Jacksonville State 17.
Okay.
Again, I think Jacksonville State is statistically a very good defense. Like, we kind of maybe gloss over that a little bit because we talk about Rich Rod and this offense and all those different things. They've been very, very good. But, again, when they play teams that have talent on offense, or when they're kind of playing up and weight a little bit, they've given up some points this year. When they face good offenses, which I think South Carolina at home, especially now getting some guys back on the offensive line, is a pretty good offense, man. So I think they're going to score some points. I think they will set the tone for this game. And we're going to know pretty early on at the end of the first quarter who has set the tone in this thing, whether it's going to be a blowout in South Carolina's favor or one that the Gamecocks of Columbia have to sort of sweat out. So I think the trench battle for South Carolina, after some tough matchups in that area, is more favorable to them this week. So
40 is a bit of a funky number. How do they get there?
Oh, I'm kind of just middling you're pretty close if they get 42. You're pretty close if they get 38.
Okay.
I kind of just middled it. I don't think 40 probably doesn't happen, but a lot of times all these picks, I'll just middle.
That's fine.
To common numbers.
I always think about it like, okay, how do you get to this point total? You can score 4 touchdowns and have 4 Mitch Jeter field goals. Maybe we hope they don't continue to miss extra points. You can miss an extra point or 2, get 40 that way. Maybe get 38 points in a safety.
4 touchdowns and 4 field goals. Doesn't that?
I think that's pretty solid all-around day because, you have 28 points from the TDs and 12 points from touchdowns, which that would continue the trend of because 37 is kind of a oddish number. Or actually, they scored 39 against Florida when you talk about the safety at the end. So, South Carolina's kind of hit the odd number thing in every home game this year, 47, 37, and 39. So, they continue the trend.
Hey, I would enjoy that. I think a lot of Gamecock fans would enjoy that as well. And, I kind of, guys, honestly, I went a little bit more back and forth on how much Jacksonville State is going to score because that's the thing where you could see this being one of those games where they kind of just deliberately move the football and just do their thing, and everybody's kind of rolling their eyes, and you have to rely on some red zone stops and rely on some turnovers. Or, would it surprise you if South Carolina just sort of won the battle up front and Jacksonville State, there's such a hurry-up based offense, if they kind of can't get going, it does swing everything back in the other direction and putting them in a position where they could just get blown out because that offense is so momentum-based on just kind of getting something going and letting it snowball for you offensively.
That's a great point. And that's why first down defense for South Carolina, really, you go first down defense and offense. First down in general, it's my very first key to the game. Rich Rodriguez talked about in his presser earlier this week how they wanted to get South Carolina into third down so that they could, quote-unquote, do their stuff, meaning get into some creative pressure packages, be able to kind of unleash what they like to do with causing havoc on defense. Now, obviously, this isn't a Sun Belt team, so it's different, right? But if they get you in those situations, South Carolina's had some struggles there. They've had some struggles protecting the quarterback. Jacksonville State has some good players. So don't be in third and long. Don't live there all day. And then for South Carolina defensively, as Wes pointed out, with this style, with this tempo, Jacksonville State would love to line up on first down and get 6 yards a clip every time that they're out there. Then you're in second short. You're in third and short. The playbook is completely wide open to you. It just makes it so much easier. And you could say this about every game, hey, play well on first down, get people in third and long. But I think it's critical for this game because of how this Jacksonville State offense is structured. This team in particular, if you can get them in third and long, that is not their game at all. And so to avoid them going fast and just continue moving the chains and just running run play after run play, you've got to have some success on first down.
My score is actually pretty similar to Chris's. I think they win by 17 points. I got them 34-17, also covering the spread.
So we all got them around 17 to 20 points.
Yours is a little higher, 23 points. But yeah, I think that.
No, I'm talking about for what Jacksonville State scores.
Oh yeah, right around 17. Yeah, that's. I mean, they're gonna score. Like they're gonna have their points. I think South Carolina's got too much talent, in my opinion, to not win this game.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting. I'll be interested to see how aggressive is Rich Rod in those situations where, you know, if it's 4th and 3 and you're at the South Carolina 20, are you kicking the field goal, or are you here to play it close, or are you here to win the game? I think that variance will determine their point total as well.
Again, this is their biggest game of the year, especially if they don't get to go to a bowl game. So we'll see what Jacksonville State does tomorrow. That'll do it for today's edition of the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs. Football Friday rolling along. More tickets to give away. Halftime show coming up next with myself and Terry Ford right here on The Game.
All right, guys, we'll tell you about our friends over at Integrated Media, Michael and Nathan. You've heard us talk about them every single day here on the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour. They've been to my home. They've been to Wes's home. The cool thing is they've done different projects at both of our homes. They can do so many different things for you, hiding those ugly wires. They can mount your television, but they can also do complete smart home systems and everything in between. If you want some examples of some past work they have done, check them out. Integrated Media Columbia, Facebook and Instagram. You can see some examples of their work. Go outside. Fire pit season coming up, guys. It's getting cold outside, but if you want to sit by the fire and watch some football, watch some sports, they can help you hook up your outdoor system. They can do internet signals, boost them, wireless speakers from Sonos, and so much more. IntegratedMediaInc.com or 803-948-8327. It's still your home. It's just smarter with the
The football season is underway, and Believe podcasts are talking about it.
When he went home and went to sleep, Michael Parsons was just terrorizing him.
Believe has podcasts covering all 32 professional teams and many of your favorite college teams, too.
And to be only producing 15 points a game, that's something that is definitely disheartening.
Sideline to sideline, end zone to end zone.
As a quarterback, I would expect him to be acting like that. Take the accountability. Put that on yourself. Don't put it on your teammates.
Search BLEAV podcasts wherever you listen.